working on this 1973, I believe it's titled as, 7273 Yamaha DS7, which is a 250cc two-stroke, the predecessor to the RD line, the RD 250 and the RD 350, 450, so on. There was a long evolution of this bike, but this is kind of the beginning of the bad boy. There were other earlier little motorcycles, but not. This is starting to get into some pretty good power. The bikes of this era, the two-stroke street bikes of this era, were known as giant killers because of the two-stroke is a much more powerful power band. I used to have a, I don't remember the year, similar era, Yamaha RD 350. That was a beautiful bike. If I can, maybe I'll try and put a picture in. That bike was a lot of fun. I wish I'd never gotten rid of it. But I used to have a friend of mine that's not with us any longer that was a Harley guy. And I rode the RD over to his house one time to visit and show it off. And he asked me if he could ride it around the block. And I was like, sure. But I warned him. I said, you got to be really careful. And he said, why? Is it real easy to pop a wheelie? And I said, no, it's real hard to keep the front end on the ground. These things, once you hit that power band, if you've ever ridden an old dirt bike, it's called a power band because that's when the power really kicks in. And it's almost like having a turbo. It really rolls into it, and all of a sudden you're just, like I said, super powerful. This one not as much, but the 350 and on up would literally just lift the front tire just rolling through the throttle. Anyway, this is one that I picked up several years ago. Anybody that actually is friends with me and is on my Facebook and all that, my personal page, has seen this bike around for a little while. I've actually got it taken apart right now. This is the state I got it in, although I have cleaned it up a lot. This was a true barn find. I picked it up from a towing and recovery company, basically post-auction. So I will be honest and say that I have fired this thing off before, just from spraying and a little bit of tuning, had to set the points and all that, but that was, I would say, 2 years ago. Motor still turns freely. Basically what we're going to do today is pull off the carburetors, go through them. I do not have a rebuild kit, but hopefully I can get everything apart and back together without any major issues. The fuel tank is over here. I'm going to go through, flush it out, make sure there's no crap in it, for lack of a better term. I'm not as concerned. This does self-oil, as two strokes need two-stroke oil, but I'm not really as concerned about that setup right now because I can pre-mix the fuel just to get it running. But again, my goal is to get it running off of its own fuel system today. And then we'll put it all back together to how I had it mocked up, which is kind of the direction I was thinking of going with it, but now I'm almost thinking about selling it, so kind of on the fence. I got a lot of other projects, and this could bring me some quick money in my pocket. So until I grow a huge YouTube channel with a lot of followers who like and subscribe, not because it's just an annoying thing to say, but because that actually affects the algorithm, by the way. And as I'm trying to grow this channel, likes and subscriptions really will help. But anyway, I'd say let's get to it. So, I may have mentioned that I've been playing with mocking things up, so I've shifted some things around, including the airbox. I already have the boots off. bootsy. That little tap is an old trick somebody taught me, similar to an impact wrench on a much smaller scale. Especially old bikes and cars, hand or maybe even a hammer tap kind of breaks that corrosion and seizure. Seized screws, it frees them up basically, or helps free them up, instead of just going at it and stripping the poopies out of the screw and then giving up on the project and selling it to somebody else who then has to figure out how to get all of these stripped out screws out. Never experienced that. Anyhow, coming around. Basically right here is our screw for our little retention clamp. Okay, so these carburetors are independently controlled by two different cables. So they are not connected except for through a crossover pipe. There is a crossover tube. I'm going to disconnect our fuel supply hose, which this is not factory. And on this type of carburetor, basically you're going to pull this off. Pull your slide out, which is not seized up, thankfully, and huff some gas. Don't huff gas, kids. That smells a little varnishy, but not terrible. I honestly do not remember if I ever even went through these carburetors at all. I know I've never run fuel through them. So, I'm actually gonna, wow, that's not good. So there is some damage in here on the slides. I don't know if you can see that. And that's probably from somebody. Somebody's probably already been through these carbs, and after it sat, okay, after it sat for however many years it sat before the person that got it before me had it, these slides had probably seized up. Again, I sort of know this from experience. So what probably happened is these are pry marks. Hang on, let me get it back in there correctly. There we go. There's two slots that need to line up to get it in there correctly. But basically, when it's in correctly and functioning correctly, when I twist the throttle, it should go up and down. After sitting for a long time, this type of carburetor, that slide will seize. Multiple different reasons, possibly in the needle and or up top. Old gas turns to varnish, if you've never heard that before. So I would assume what those are is somebody prying, trying to get it freed up. I kind of wish I'd gotten a hold of it before they did that, but I mean, it's all smooth. The bore is all smooth. I might clean that up with some emery cloth. Because I'm sure these carburetors are not cheap. Anyhow, there's one. McCuney. And this would be the right carburetor. There's also the correct carburetor. Oh man, I am so funny. We're going to have to set up a carburetor rehabilitation station, which that is not. So we're going to pull our pseudo fuel line off, set it up there. Let's get this other left carburetor off. I'm going to loosen that up a little bit more. You don't want to rip your boots, not the ones on your feet, but the ones that attach the carburetor to the intake, because again, that's going to be an expensive part. Probably not, but I don't really have any money right now to be spending on parts, especially with property tax coming up. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Alright, this one's got one little nick, but nowhere near the pry marks the other one had. That means we might actually be successful in just doing a quick rebuild. What I would call a half-assed rebuild. But anyway, I'm going to set us up a little rebuild station and catch you there. I'll be right there, kids. All right. This carburetor looks to be in pretty good shape. I'm only going to do one of the two on camera because the other is pretty much identical, except it doesn't have the choke, which is what this is, which is not set up right, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. First thing we're going to do is see how that screw is mostly stripped out? That's what we were trying to prevent. Of course, we'll try that one just to see what happens. But let me, oh, I just happen to have a dead blow right here. A little bit heavier of a hammer than you really need for this, but I'm just going to do that. Quick tap, tappy tap. Yeah, that's going to be a vise grips. So that may end up being an issue. I hope not. I'm going to get a different hammer. This is not the hammer I would want to use for that. Instead, we'll use old trusty. I made this in, oops, sorry, I just bumped you. Hopefully you're still in the right place. I made this in junior high school in metal shop from raw materials. And pretty much knew that's what I wanted to do. We won't get into all that. Basically, when I'm putting the screwdriver in here, since we're explaining things, I'm bracing it on a relatively solid, I mean, we've got that much surface area, flat, and I'm kind of bracing that, seating this screwdriver in there correctly, good and snug, then I'm pushing downward while I turn. And I'm watching very carefully the tip of the screwdriver to make sure that the whole screw is turning and not just the tip of the screwdriver. This is the one that's already half stripped out. Since we're going to spray this with a bunch of carb cleaner anyway, we'll hit it with some of that. I don't know why I sprayed those when they're already loose, but it'll help them come out easier. This guy, we're going to give him a few more taps. And try and show this and not hurt myself. Am I not even on the right one? Yeah, it's not that bad. I might be able to get it. There it went. So, you know, just like all things mechanical, mechanical being that a mechanic would do, patience is super important. Especially on old carburetors. Buddy, you can strip out every one of these screws and break every tab, lose every spring, and, you know, ruin it for the next guy after you get frustrated and throw it all into a bucket. Or you can patiently, if you don't have the patience for it, then you shouldn't be messing with it, basically. I can't tell you how many times I've gone and, you know, sure, I'll get this car running or whatever, and come across the fact that someone has taken it completely apart, whether it's a carburetor or the entire car, with grand plans, and then got overwhelmed or life took over or whatever, and walked away from the project. Nothing labeled, nothing at all organized or anything. And then I end up with this project somehow either helping with someone else or on my own buying it, and realize that I have to figure out how to put this thing back together before I can even figure out what's wrong with it. So that's always fun, just saying. Alright, there's our 4 screws. We're going to set them aside over here. I think I already felt it wiggle, but just for demonstration purposes, I'll usually give the bowl a little tap, free it up. You can hear it rattling. You know it's loose. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to say I haven't had these carburetors apart. Huh. Maybe I have. Someone has. Yeah, I did not do this. Okay. I don't know if you can see that, but someone has scraped wow. Yeah. Okay, well, someone's been in here definitely. It was not me. We're going to clean this thing up. I hope nothing's screwed up. I mean, it really doesn't look bad. It's just scraped with something. And scraping creates small metal particles, which are definitely not something you want in your carburetor. And that's kind of my concern right now. I mean, there's definitely some stuff down in there. Particulate. Very interesting. Anywho, we're going to spray some carb cleaner in here. Always being careful not to get that in your eye, because it burns. Ask me how I know. So these floats, basically, right. Burf. Go on these these posts. Yeah. Huh. Okay, well. Like I said, definitely am not taking apart these carburetors. I don't know if it's a two-stroke thing or a CV thing or what, but yeah, that setup's definitely different from stuff I'm used to playing with. But anyhow, basically, that's your needle valve, which is, mind you, completely stuck in there. Assuming you can see that. Let's try that. Ah, there we go. So that little line that you're seeing is the float valve. I'm sorry, I'm new at this whole camera manipulation thing. And I'm manipulating flashlights and cameras and everything else. So that is not supposed to be stuck there. It's supposed to drop down. I'll show you. So I'm not sure what direction these floats go in, but basically what they do is when there's plenty of fuel in there, they float up and close that valve that I was talking about because it's pressed on by this lever. This lever hopefully just pushes right out. Yep. So that is what allows fuel into the carburetor to do the magic. Now, if I'm lucky, yeah, okay, so now that's coming out. But see, that should drop down like that. That's what it was supposed to be doing, but it was not doing. I have no idea if you can see any of this because my lighting is not great. So, yeah, see how it's hanging up in there? You can't have that. It's got to be smooth. It's got to drop out every time. So that's part of an issue. Somehow that's holding on and has not cracked. That's surprising. This is the crossover pipe from the one carburetor to the other carburetor. Interesting. I think we're going to have to do something better about that. Interesting. I know I keep saying interesting. Because you're seeing this live. So the choke on this is actually an enrichener, I believe, which adds more fuel as opposed to taking away air, which is what most of the ones that I'm used to do. Yeah, I don't know who scraped at this thing, like, I don't know what. Anyway, we're going to be a little bit more gentle. And we're not going for perfection. All I'm trying to do is make sure that the jets are clear. And this is not a carburetor rebuild tutorial by any way, shape, or form. Okay, so I can see that these two jets are clear, which is two of the ones that I was most concerned about. We're still going to spray some carburetor cleaner through there, but that was my main concern. All the other circuits, again, the main thing is you don't want to get carburetor cleaner in your eyes. This The gasket is still good. Don't want to mess that up. We're just gonna kind of let that soak. Normally I would actually take these completely apart if I was going to actually rebuild the carburetors. I would actually take them completely apart and clean all of this very carefully. What we're going for right now is proof of life and functionality. Let me find some more paper towels. And since I just got back from the store and bought paper towels, they're not far. I see why somebody was scraping at it. There's some definite staining in here. But if it doesn't come off with carburetor cleaner and or a light brushing, it's more than likely not going to create an issue with running. What you're looking for is small particulate matter, like tiny dusty stuff, that when you spray the carburetor cleaner in there, you can see it floating around in the puddle that you've created. You don't want that stuff in there. You don't want any metal shavings, you don't want any particulates. Because carburetors have very, very small, see all that stuff coming off on there? You don't want that stuff in there. But, like I said, there's some very small orifices. I'm just taking a screwdriver and pushing down on this paper towel into the smaller areas that I can't fit my finger. But the things that make a carburetor work are very small passages, to put it in layman's terms. And they will clog easily with any particulate matter, is my point. But the staining that does not come off easily, that's not, again, if it's not coming off easily, then it's not going to create an issue. We're not looking for cosmetics. Nobody's going to see the inside of this carburetor bowl. Now, you know, if you're that guy, you can totally blow this thing totally apart. You can sandblast it. You can put it through all kinds of processes. Like I said, for what we're doing here, we're going for functionality. Take that towel that's already soaked in carb cleaner, instead of spraying more, we're just going to use it since it's saturated. Oh, by the way, you should probably be wearing gloves when you do this. Just saying. Oh, and yeah, that old disclaimer, don't do anything I do, because it's not my fault if you screw something up. I'm just doing this for fun. I'm not trying to tell you to do any of this. I enjoy doing this stuff, believe it or not. This part, pretty important. We may give it a bit of a spritz, just to be... Oops, I lost it. Oh my gosh, it's gone forever. I've lost it. It's gone forever. I'm totally exaggerating. However, that being said, carburetors are definitely known for having very small parts, tiny little balls, not like yours. Ha 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 ha! Oh man, shouldn't have said that, but I did. But yes, tiny little metal balls and tiny little springs, all kinds of tiny little parts that will totally disappear. So another thing is there's usually a spring inside of this. I don't really know
what the purpose of that is, other than maybe just a bit of a cushion, but that'll get stuck up in there also. And basically what we're going after is freedom of movement in any moving parts in this carburetor. We do not want anything hanging up, because that's what causes issues. So we'll pull that out and just give it a wipe down, if for no other reason than to get it to move freely. And again, there's some strange scrapes and cuts on a lot of these parts. I don't know who got a hold of it trying to clean it up. Uh-oh. Beep beep. I don't know what that meant. I guess it changed to another clip. Gee, I don't know if you can see that, but that's a ridge. Very odd. Very, very odd. Anyhow, we're going to screw that back in. So, that's actually for the oiler, I believe. Again, I have not even looked into how this carb's set up or what it does, other than it keeps it carbureted. Seeking a flathead screwdriver. I am seeking a flathead screwdriver. Up right next to your right hand. Thank you. Excuse me. Alright, well, we're going to have to take a lunch break soon, but I'm almost done with this. Again, that's another screw that was probably a metering setting. But we're going to take it from the top on that. Again, I'm just giving it kind of a bit of a cleaning, a little bit of attention that it hasn't had in a long time. I say that, but it seems again that the person that had this before me, I don't know if he tried to get it running or what. He said he couldn't get it running. I had it running in about 15 minutes. So, I don't know if he was just going straight off of trying to get it running off of the gas tank though, which again I did not. I just mixed up some fuel and squirted it in there. But I also went through and I don't remember if I put in new points. I know at the very least I cleaned up the factory points. I think if I remember correctly, I bought new points. They didn't look right to me. So I ended up taking out the old points, cleaning them up, gapping them correctly, setting the timing correctly, and setting the bike up correctly. Sprayed some fuel in it, and it fired up. But again, it's sat. Alright, that's bent, clearly. So we're just going to straighten that out some. It sat, I know it sat for at least, I want to say 2 years while I built this house, finished building this house. And I have not tried to start it at all since then. Alright. Alright, so we need to find a blah blah. We're gonna find a wrench for that. I'm gonna sit back down because my back's starting to hurt. This should, I believe, pop up theoretically. Should just be like a little cap, maybe. Maybe not. Okay, well, I'm not gonna force anything. Maybe we'll hit that with some silicone. See what happens. Worst thing that happens is I ruin this carburetor. That would be pretty terrible. Again, the reason that I'm hitting that with some silicone is I believe that this is a rubber little boot, and if it is, it's really hard and brittle. So we just wanted to give it a little bit of lube. I don't see this popping off of there easily, so we're just going to go for it with the 12mm. And see if we can even get it on there. Not really liking that. Our issue is that our wrench, first of all, is a little bit thicker than the space I have to put it in, which is why I was trying to get that boot off. Old boot off. But the other thing is, I don't know if there's enough room either way for that wrench. So basically where I'm at with that is it's functional, it's moving, okay, and I can see through the crossover, the channel. So what we're going to do is not take it apart. So again, folks, if it's fighting me at all, like this is, I'm just going to kind of clean it up as good as I can. Like I said, it's functional. And the only thing that I saw that's put together wrong is that this is the kind of retainer clip, but I'm willing to bet that I can stick a screwdriver down in here, push it down, and pry it over a little bit and get it back into place. Ta-da! So that just got fixed. And we can do it a little better too, just to be sure that it's right. Alright, so that was pretty much all I was really worried about anyway. Now then, yeah, see, that is a little bit loose actually. So, instead of loosening it, I'm just going to snug it up a bit. I like that. Okay. Again, I looked through these jets. Normally I would pull all these jets out and clean out the orifices and clean out the actual jets, like I said. But I can clearly see through them, so as minimally invasive as that was, I'm just going to spray some cleaner into that fuel inlet. we're going to take that. I'm trying not to put small parts down back into this tray, mainly because that's where all the whatever the word is I'm looking for, the stuff, particulates, all the little things are going. So again, I don't know if you can see this, but flawless victory. See how that moves totally freely now? That's what we want. So there's that. Just go ahead and clear a spot. Make sure that we're not picking up a bunch of stuff again. And figure out how this carburetor goes back together. Okay, so again, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little dot right there. That dot is from contacting that little plunger dealie. So we know that it goes in that direction. These tangs, we know, go in that direction. So basically, that's as simple as that. These floats, we're just going to give them a wipe down. And again, just trying to get any solid particulates out of there. So these can only go a certain way. And I'm pretty sure it's that way. No, it wouldn't be that way. It would be the other way. Okay, how about this? So, since I wasn't paying attention when I took this apart, I could take apart this other carburetor and look. However, I believe what I'm going to do is look it up on Google, since we have that resource in this day and age. And that way, just in case this one's also put together wrong, since I know that these have been gone through from the scratches inside of them, I want to make sure that I'm putting it together correctly. And that's a pretty important part. So, looks like the battery's about to die, so my battery's about to die also. I'm going to get some lunch. However, I don't know if you can see that or not, but there's our floats. So the dent is up. When the carburetor is in the actual upright condition. Got that information, so let's go. Oh, never mind.
Unfortunately, the audio did not record after lunch. So basically, I've just sped up these next couple clips of me finishing cleaning up the first carburetor and putting it back together. think at the end I actually put some anti-seize on the screws just to keep them from seizing up. And then was going to cut it there, but found that the other carburetor had not been gone through. It was pretty heavily varnished and gummed up. So I had to do a little bit better of a cleaning on this one um, very quickly. Anyhow, I believe what I'm doing here is getting a piece of wire to clean out the jets. Or I could be completely wrong. There is the wire that I was talking about. Anyhow, I think here in a second I show a clogged jet. Maybe I just cleaned it first. Maybe it's just happening really fast and you didn't get to see it. Either way, that's me cleaning a carburetor really fast. And my first voiceover as well. I saw the hole, did you? No hole there. We'll see if I show it again. See me using a little wire there. Just copper wire, not steel wire. Soft wire. And you don't want to break the wire off inside of there. Anyway, there. Now you can see through it. Okay, now back to the show.
Okay. I'm not sure where we left off, but basically I did the other carburetor. Replaced this vinyl tubing. I mean, it was sort of working. It doesn't seem to be brittle somehow, so I don't know. Maybe it's because of the two-stroke oil. It kept it from becoming brittle. Either way, I put some actual fuel line on there and a couple clamps that I had. So that's much better. It's a much tighter fit. So, there's that. Okay. Hi, by the way. I think I mentioned that there's a very specific way these fit in. There's a couple slots that line up. Separating them. I think we're going to hit that with some silicone spray too, since I happen to have it out. Cylinder, but I mean it's not going to hurt anything. Cylinders. It is a two-cylinder. It's a parallel twin. Like I said, two-stroke. Basically, sometimes this part's a little bit hard. We'll loosen up the clamps a little more. The screws are always plenty long. Boop! I'm going to go ahead and leave that one loose. Come around and do the other one, and then we'll tighten them up. Boop! And you want to make sure that you leave the clamps where you can get to them. And again, you're just kind of snugging them up. You don't need to over tighten them or you'll just bend the clamps. The rubber boot is the sealing surface, and all you're doing here is just keeping it from coming out of the rubber boot. And making sure the seal's snug. Like I said, just like everything else, you don't want to strip this out or anything. Just maybe probably a little less tight than you think. You can't see me. I'm doing antics and you can't see me. So, in other news, I'm going to try and find my flashlight again, which for some reason is always nearby, but hard to find. Let's see if we can show you what varnish looks like. I think we'll bring you over here. So, hold on. Oops, oops. Whoa. Oh, whoa. Oh, I don't have my glasses on, so I don't know if you can see that. But, oh, there it is. Yeah. This side does not seem anywhere near as bad. But, you know, it smells like we're going to be refinishing some cabinets. Next step for that, I believe what I'm going to do is pull this petcock off. Hey guys, I'm just looking up the rebuild kit availability, which it is available. I can even get it off of Amazon, for the petcock for the gas tank for the DS7. Last video, I believe we got the carburetors rebuilt. Actually, this is going to be the same video, but earlier we got the carburetors rebuilt, sort of half-assed, and put back on, and checked the gas tank and discovered it's definitely got some varnish in it and probably is not going to function. So my intention was to get that going and get it all mocked up all in one day, and that it did not happen. It's a different day. There's been a hurricane, but we're back. And no, it did not hit here. We got some wind and rain. Down further south got hit pretty hard. But
Florida's a lot more used to it than North Carolina is, so that one did a lot more damage up in Asheville, that area. But that's neither here nor there. Anyhow, I believe what I'm going to do today instead is mock up some sort of temporary fuel delivery system, check for spark, and see if we can just get this thing to fire up. Maybe tune it enough to hold an idle, and then get this thing edited out and posted. Then we'll make another video really dialing it in, mocking it up, and go from there. So, excuse me. Basically what I'm doing is cobbling together a better version of whatever was already on here, which I'm not even sure is even going to work. Alright. It's in your hand, Brian. So, once again, always be mindful of the position of your hose clamps, because you need to be able to screw and or unscrew them. This is all just temporary. I'm just trying to prevent fire, because fire bad in this situation. Fire good, but fire bad when you don't want it. That's the key. When you want fire, fire's good. When you don't want fire, fire's really bad. Alright, let's tighten these clamps up. And again, I'm not trying to tighten the heck out of it. I'm just trying to snug it up to keep it from coming off or leaking. Excuse me. On this episode of things that you should not do that I'm about to do, we're going to make a temporary fuel system. Yeah. It's going to be ridiculously dangerous. I say once again, don't do what I do. Just don't do it. Would not be prudent. I don't even know if you can see me. That's probably going to leak. We're going to test this with water. So, I filled up our trusty little Coke fuel tank with some water. So I found a bit of a cap. I'm pretty confident this is going to leak, but let's see together if you can even see me. Okay. Here we go. We are not leaking. That's all I really need, pressure-wise, fuel-wise. I mean, I'll bet I could fill it all the way up at this point if it's not leaking there. So, with that being said, let's get the water out of here and rig this thing up.
Y'all are gonna like this. It's gonna be completely ridiculous. Hope I'm recording. What's the worst that could happen, right? Well, other than the fuel line not fitting on the barb that we put on here, that could be bad. Nah, it's gonna fit. Alright. Absolutely ridiculous fuel system, take one. Well, at the very least, those carburetors now have fuel in them. A lot of fuel in them. Oh, we have a leak. Alright, so, not surprisingly, actually we have multiple leaks. So, with that being said, this system did not work. And we will not be trying to start this. Because somehow, wow. Okay, yeah, we have huge issues. Danger! Oh, that's very unfortunate. Okay, so in an effort to not feel totally defeated, I've hooked back up most of the electrical system. The voltage regulator I had disconnected. This battery I've got a small charge on. I don't know if that battery's even any good anymore. I know I'm in neutral because I've been rolling the bike around without pulling the clutch in. So I'm going to hook up some power and see what happens. It's aired out a bunch, so there's no residual fuel sitting anyplace. There still should be some fuel in at least one of the carburetors, I would think. So, let's see what happens. Right now, we're just hooking up power. I don't know that I want that close to that Kickstarter, so we're going to try and put that somewhere else and not create a short anywhere. Alright. I don't know what you can see, but we have a headlight. Even the high beam. Is that a horn button? I don't know if you hear it. Almost a horn. How about that? How about that? Turn signals. This thing does not have an electric starter, so that's not going to work. Anyhow, let's just see what happens when I kick it off. Nothing. 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 Still nothing. Nothing. Okay. I'm just really curious at this point since we're this far. You didn't see that. Still got electricity? Yep. I'm going to say I have no spark, kids. While we're here, I guess I may as well pull the spark plug. I'm trying, guys. I'm trying to get you some smoke. Ancient snap-on flex head ratchet. Missing the handle.
I'm sure there's one out there somewhere. I've never really made the effort. I just turn it with a pair of needle nose. I'm just going to toss that across the room real quick. Wow. These are brand new. I probably did put plugs in this. But they're fouled with something. Old fuel or something. Probably whatever I was spraying in there. Let's see if we can get any spark at all. Almost. It should be grounded. Let's see. You guys there? Alright. Sorry about that. Sorry about the noise. I don't know if you guys can even see that, but I'm gonna go for, I don't know how many key positions there are, but seem to be a lot. We're looking for spark there. And I am not seeing any there. There's that. Still not. So that should be off. That should be on, I think. Oh, we got spark there. But we do not have spark there. Well, that's very interesting. Oh, we have fire. We don't actually have fire. We just burnt up the ground wire, or the power wire that we put in. Which is fine. It's not the end of the world. It's my fault for rigging all this crap up. I don't know if you got that on camera. Probably not. But I did figure out how to get spark. In the process, I melted down a test wire. That's probably really hot. Alright. So that's what you get for rigging things up. Alright, I'm going to... I saw a spark, so that's good. I'm going to rig this up a little better. Fuses. Basically, I looked up, it's supposed to be a 20 amp fuse. So instead of burning down the garage, I'm just going to try and find a 20 amp fuse real quick and put it in place. I think I found a 20 amp fuse, guys. To hook that back up. Oh, we have no juice for some reason. Okay. Reassessing. Not sure. But the fuse is also blown. So that fuse blew immediately. Okay. We have an electrical issue. And it's probably because this thing's completely half-ass wired.
Alright, I'm going to try and figure out where our short is. Because we got a short somewhere. And try again. This is a 15 amp fuse, which is actually a lower amperage. Did not immediately blow. So maybe that was just shorting on something. Let's see if we get spark. We do have spark. Okay, let's try putting this thing together real quick and seeing what happens. Interesting. Very interesting. So, are we even on? Theoretically, yes. Okay, plug is back in and snugged. We know we have spark in that position. We have no particular shorts. Let's see what happens again. Turn that off, this on. How about that? I know y'all heard that. Okay. So, that actually worked. Interestingly, I'm going to do something I should not do, but I'm curious. Once again. Uh-oh. We're getting rowdy. There it is. Alright, let's disconnect everything. Actually, nothing is particularly hot. Yeah, I think the regulator was just touching the frame. But bam! Proof of life, bitches! That's all I wanted. Thanks for watching. See you real soon. Ha 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 ha! Bye-bye!